2,000 years ago, the greatest library ever built contained 500,000 scrolls, the collected knowledge of the ancient world. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, history, poetry. Everything humanity had learned in thousands of years of civilization gathered in one place. Then it was destroyed, and centuries of knowledge vanished forever. Most people blame Julius Caesar. The real story is far more complicated and far more disturbing. The Library of Alexandria was founded in the 3rd century BC by Ptolemy I, one of Alexander the Great's generals who took control of Egypt after Alexander's death. His vision was breathtaking in its ambition, to collect every book ever written in every language and bring it to Alexandria. He largely succeeded. Ships arriving in Alexandria were searched, and any scrolls found were confiscated and copied. The original kept for the library, a copy returned to the owner. Agents were sent across the known world to purchase manuscripts. Scholars estimate the library held between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls at its peak. It wasn't just a storage facility. The library was attached to a research institution called the Eons, the origin of the word museum, where scholars from across the ancient world lived and worked, supported by royal patronage. Euclid developed his foundational work in geometry there. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the earth there, accurately, in 240 BC. Archimedes may have studied there. It was the intellectual center of the ancient world, the closest thing the ancient world ever had to a university. The most popular story blames Julius Caesar. During his campaign in Alexandria in 48 BC, Caesar allegedly set fire to ships in the harbor, and the fire spread to the library and destroyed it. This story is almost certainly not the whole truth. Contemporary accounts of Caesar's time in Alexandria mention a fire at the docks, but don't describe the destruction of the main library. Later ancient writers who clearly had access to the library's contents wrote about it as if it still existed well after Caesar's visit. Caesar may have damaged a warehouse of scrolls near the harbor, but the main library appears to have survived him. The truth is that the Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in a single dramatic fire. It died slowly over centuries, through a combination of neglect, underfunding, and deliberate suppression. As Rome's power grew and Christian authority expanded in the 4th and 5th centuries AD, pagan institutions became targets. In 391 AD, the Roman Emperor Theodosius issued edicts ordering the destruction of pagan temples. The Serapeum, a daughter library containing thousands of scrolls, was destroyed by a Christian mob led by the Bishop of Alexandria. In 415 AD, Hypatia, the last great scholar associated with the Alexandrian tradition, a mathematician and philosopher, was murdered by a Christian mob in the streets of Alexandria. Her death is widely seen as marking the end of the intellectual tradition the library represented. The knowledge wasn't burned in one night. It was systematically suppressed over generations by people who found it threatening. What vanished with the library is impossible to fully calculate because we don't know exactly what it contained. We know from references in surviving texts that there were works of Aristotle, Euclid, and other ancient scholars that no longer exist. There were historical accounts of civilizations and events that we have no other record of. There were scientific works, astronomical, mathematical, medical, that ancient writers referenced but that have never been found. Some researchers argue that the destruction of the library set human civilization back by centuries. That knowledge, which took thousands of years to accumulate and was within reach of driving a scientific revolution, was simply erased. We will never know what we lost. That's the most haunting part of all. The Library of Alexandria wasn't killed by one fire on one night. It was killed by the slow, deliberate suppression of knowledge by people who feared what that knowledge represented. That's a more uncomfortable story than Caesar's fire. It doesn't have a villain who made a mistake. It has villains who knew exactly what they were doing. The scrolls are gone. What they contained is gone with them. And somewhere in that lost knowledge may be answers to questions we're still asking today. Subscribe for a new ancient mystery every week.